welcome to your personalized deep dive.
Okay.
This time,
That's good.
we're trekking into Big Bog State Recreation Area.
Okay.
It's not just another park.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking the largest peat bog in the lower 48 states.
Wow.
A true wilderness experience and relatively new to Minnesota's park system.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Get ready to uncover its hidden gems from its unique ecosystems to the stories etched in its landscape.
Sounds fun.
So what's fascinating about this one
Is that Big Bog is almost like two parks in one.
Okay.
It's divided into north and south units, each offering a distinct experience.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So we've got maps, articles, even someone's attempt to paint a pitcher plant,
Interesting.
which honestly looks harder than I imagined.
Yeah.
But let's start with this Tail to Poo Parks. What makes each unit unique?
Well, the northern unit is where you'll find the heart of the Big Bog itself and the iconic Boardwalk. It's all about immersing yourself in the bog's unique ecosystem.
Okay.
A landscape shaped by thousands of years of natural processes.
So that's where we'll find those carnivorous plants I've been reading about.
Exactly.
How cool.
But the boardwalk itself is an engineering marvel.
Okay.
It's designed to allow sunlight to penetrate while being wheelchair accessible.
Okay.
Even more impressive is its ability to breathe and belch with the bog's natural movements.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A breathing boardwalk.
Yeah, it sounds
almost alive.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, peat bogs are constantly shifting and releasing gases as part of their natural decomposition process. The boardwalk is built with special grates that allow these gases to escape
Okay.
without damaging the structure.
Okay.
It's a testament to how human design can work in harmony with nature.
That's amazing. It sounds like they really put a lot of thought into preserving this delicate ecosystem.
But I'm also seeing some mentions of attempts to drain the bog.
Right.
That doesn't sound very harmonious.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
You're right.
Yeah.
Back in the early 1900s, there were attempts to drain the bog for farming, driven by the idea that wetlands were wasted space. Thankfully, the efforts failed.
Okay.
Imagine trying to tame a 500 square mile peat bog.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster. It seems like people eventually realized that the bog was valuable in its own right.
Yes. Thankfully, in the 1970s, a large portion was recognized as a wilderness area.
Okay.
And then in 2000, Big Bog State Recreation Area was born.
Okay.
This was partly a grassroots effort
Okay.
to boost the local economy after a walleye population crash in Red Lake.
So a place born out of both conservation and community resilience.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's really cool.
Now, we've been talking a lot about the northern unit, but what about the southern unit on Upper Red Lake?
That's where you'll find more traditional recreational activities.
Okay.
Think campsites, a sandy beach,
Right.
a visitor center, and even a fire tower you can climb.
Okay.
And a word to the wise,
Yeah.
fill up on water there. There's none available at the northern unit.
Good to know. So the south is more about the classic park experience.
Right.
While the north is a true wilderness adventure.
Yeah.
But both are connected by this fascinating history and the story of the bog itself.
Exactly.
Okay, before we dive deeper into those stories,
Sure.
I have to ask, what exactly is a peat bog?
Whoa.
It sounds like a giant mud puddle.
Yeah.
But I suspect it's a bit more complex than that.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
A peat bog is a type of wetland where partially decayed plant matter, called peat, accumulates over thousands of years.
Okay. Yep.
Imagine a giant waterlogged compost pile where decomposition happens incredibly slowly due to the acidic environment.
So it's like a time capsule of plant life,
Yes.
building up over centuries.
Exactly. And that slow decomposition is what makes peat bogs so incredible for carbon storage.
Okay.
They're like giant natural sponges soaking up carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and helping to regulate our climate.
Wait, so by preserving Big Bog, we're not just protecting a unique landscape. We're also helping fight climate change.
That's right. Peatlands play a vital role in mitigating climate change.
Right.
When they're drained or damaged, that stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere. Protecting Big Bog isn't just about preserving its beauty, it's about safeguarding our planet's health.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I never realized that these seemingly simple ecosystems were such powerful climate allies.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm even more intrigued to explore this place. But before we go full wilderness explore, let's talk about the wildlife.
Sure.
What kind of creatures might we encounter in Big Bog?
Oh, where do I even begin?
Okay.
Big Bog is teeming with diverse wildlife.
Okay.
We've got iconic moose,
Mm-hmm.
graceful deer,
Okay.
even the occasional black bear.
Oh, wow.
You might spot wolves, bobcats, fishers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a haven for predators.
I'm already feeling like I need to brush up on my animal tracking skills.
Yeah.
I'm also a bit of a bird nerd.
Mm-hmm.
What about feathered friends?
You're in luck.
Okay.
Over 300 bird species have been spotted in Big Bog,
Wow.
making it a birdwatcher's paradise.
Oh, wow.
It's a crucial stopover point for migrating birds.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what rare species you might encounter.
This is officially going on my birding bucket list. Anything else I should be looking for?
Well,
What about those lemmings I saw mentioned in the research?
Ah, yes.
Okay.
The lemmings.
Okay.
Big Bog is home to both northern and southern bog lemmings.
Okay.
These tiny creatures,
Mm-hmm.
only about 5 inches long,
Yeah.
are perfectly adapted to this environment.
Mm-hmm.
If you're lucky,
Okay.
you might spot one darting through the undergrowth.
5 inches?
Yeah, they're tiny.
That's smaller than my phone.
Yeah,
I'll definitely need to keep my eyes peeled.
yeah.
Speaking of keeping an eye out,
Mm-hmm.
what about safety?
Yeah.
Are there any precautions we should take when exploring Big Bog?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While Big Bog is a relatively safe place to explore,
Okay.
it's always important to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this is a wilderness area, so cell service is limited.
Okay.
Download maps and trail guides beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
and let someone know your plans before venturing out.
Good advice.
Yeah,
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of exploration and forget about the practicalities.
exactly.
Right.
Also, be aware of your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
keep a safe distance from wildlife,
Okay.
and be mindful of changing weather conditions.
Okay.
Bogs can be unpredictable,
Mhm.
and conditions can change quickly.
Sounds like we need to be prepared for anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's part of the adventure, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Embracing the unexpected and being ready for whatever nature throws your way.
I love that perspective. Okay, before we get lost in the wilderness ourselves,
Yeah.
let's shift gears and talk about those recreational opportunities.
Okay.
Especially in the southern unit,
Mm-hmm.
we know there's a beach,
Mm-hmm.
but what else is there to do on Upper Red Lake?
Well, as you might have guessed, the fishing in Upper Red Lake is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's known for its walleye northern pike
Okay.
and crappie, perfect for anglers of all skill levels.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I've heard tales of legendary catches on Upper Red Lake.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your own boat, don't worry.
Okay.
The park rents out canoes, kayaks,
Mm-hmm.
and even paddle boards.
Okay.
You can explore the lake at your own pace and take in its beauty.
That sounds idyllic.
Yeah,
What about for folks who prefer solid ground?
sure.
Are there any hiking trails in the southern unit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There are several hiking trails that wind through the forests and along the lakeshore,
Mm-hmm.
offering a chance to immerse yourself in the area's natural beauty.
Okay.
And for a truly panoramic view,
Mm-hmm.
you can climb the fire tower we mentioned earlier.
Now that you mentioned the fire tower, some of the camper reviews mentioned incredible sunset views from up there.
It's true.
Oh, wow.
The views are breathtaking,
Okay.
especially at sunset.
Yeah.
You can see for miles across the lake and the
Right.
surrounding wilderness.
Wow.
It's a great spot to appreciate the vastness and tranquility of Big Bog.
Okay. I'm adding climb fire tower at sunset to my Big Bog bucket list.
Yeah, good idea.
What about camping?
Sure.
We touched on the campground earlier,
Right.
but are there different types of campsites available?
Yes.
Okay.
The campground in the southern unit caters to a variety of preferences.
Oh.
They have electric and non-electric campsites
Mhm.
and even camper cabins for those who prefer a bit more comfort.
So whether you're a seasoned arvor or a tent pitching enthusiast,
Right.
there's an option for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of camper reviews,
Mm-hmm.
I did notice some mixed feedback about the campground.
Really?
Some folks loved the friendly atmosphere,
Right.
but others felt the sites were a bit too close together.
Yeah, that's a great observation.
Yeah.
Campground experiences can be subjective,
Mm-hmm.
and it really depends on what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
If you're seeking solitude, you might want to consider visiting during the shoulder seasons when the
Right.
crowds are thinner, or opting for a more remote campsite.
Good point. I guess it's all about Doing your research and choosing a campsite that aligns with your expectations.
Exactly.
Speaking of research, I noticed that some sources mention discrepancies between online maps and the actual park layout.
Yes. Yeah.
Things change over time. Yeah, that's true.
Apparently, Highway 67, which used to provide access to certain areas, is now permanently closed.
Wow.
It's crucial to check with the park directly for the most up-to-date information,
Yeah,
especially on road closures and trail conditions.
definitely.
Yeah.
Relying solely on digital maps can sometimes lead to unexpected detours.
Exactly.
While we're on the topic of practical tips, one reviewer mentioned that the campground doesn't sell ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a crucial detail for anyone planning to keep their beverages and snacks chilled.
right.
It highlights the importance of being self-sufficient
Mm-hmm.
when venturing into more remote areas.
Yeah,
Pack extra ice or invest in a good cooler.
noted. And let's not forget about bug spray.
The inevitable bugs.
Right.
Some reviewers mentioned minimal issues, while others warned about swarms of mosquitoes.
Oh, no.
It's always best to be prepared, especially if you're sensitive to bites
Mm-hmm.
or visiting during peak mosquito season.
Okay, bug spray's at the top of my packing list.
Yeah.
Maybe a head net, too, just in case.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
But seriously, these practical tips are essential.
Mm-hmm.
They paint a realistic picture of what to expect
Yeah,
and help you prepare for a more enjoyable experience.
I completely agree. It's the little details that can make or break a trip.
Right.
But beyond those practicalities, what
Yeah.
really stood out to me in the research was the bog's history.
Yeah.
It's incredible how much this seemingly untouched wilderness has been shaped by human interaction.
It's a powerful reminder that even the most pristine landscapes have stories to tell.
Yeah.
From the failed drainage attempts to the Ojibwe people's deep connection to the bog for its medicinal plants. There are layers of history woven into this landscape.
I was particularly fascinated by the fact that Big Bog was used as an aircraft training and test bombing range during World War II.
Wow.
It's hard to imagine such a peaceful place being used for military purposes.
It speaks to how even remote corners of our country have played a role in shaping our collective history. It adds another dimension to our understanding of Big Bog.
It's amazing how natural history, cultural heritage, and even military history all converge in this one place.
Exactly. It challenges us to see beyond the surface and recognize the interconnectedness of seemingly disparate events and stories.
Now, we've talked a lot about the bog's beauty and its history,
Right.
but let's circle back to its environmental significance.
Okay.
We touched on its role as a carbon sink, but why else are peat bogs so important?
Well,
What makes them worth protecting?
peat bogs are incredibly biodiverse ecosystems.
Okay.
They provide habitats for a wide range of plants and animals, many of which are specially adapted to these unique conditions.
So they're like biodiversity hotspots.
Yes.
Teeming with life that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
Exactly. And they also play a vital role in water filtration and flood control. Peat acts like a giant sponge, absorbing excess water and releasing it slowly, which helps regulate water flow and prevent flooding.
So they're not just carbon sinks. They're also natural water filters and flood protectors.
That's right.
That's amazing. It makes you realize that these seemingly desolate landscapes are actually working hard behind the scenes to keep our planet healthy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
They're unsung heroes of the natural world,
Yeah.
performing essential functions that often go unnoticed.
Okay, now I'm even more convinced that these ecosystems deserve our protection.
Yeah.
But enough about the science.
Great.
Let's talk about the experience of actually being in Big Bog.
Sure.
What's it like to walk through this unique landscape?
Well, one of the most striking things about visiting Big Bog is the sense of solitude.
Okay.
It's a vast and sparsely populated area, which means you can truly escape the noise and distractions of everyday life
Yeah.
and immerse yourself in the tranquility of nature.
It sounds like the perfect antidote to our hyper-connected world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a chance to unplug, recharge, and reconnect with something larger than yourself.
Okay.
And one of the best ways to experience that solitude is by hiking the boardwalk in the northern unit.
We talked about the boardwalk's unique construction earlier, but what's it like to actually walk on it?
It's an incredible experience.
Okay.
The boardwalk elevates you above the bog, giving you a unique perspective on this fascinating ecosystem.
Okay.
It's like walking through a floating forest, surrounded by unusual plants and the sounds of nature.
Several reviewers described it as feeling like you're walking through the treetops.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And because it's accessible to people of all abilities,
Mm-hmm.
it's a truly inclusive experience.
I love that.
Everyone can enjoy the wonder of Big Bog,
Yeah.
regardless of their physical limitations.
So what are some of the things we might see while we're strolling along the boardwalk?
Well, besides the carnivorous plants we've already mentioned, you'll see a variety of other fascinating species like bog rosemary Labrador tea and sphagnum moss.
Labrador tea. Is that anything like the tea I drink?
It's actually a member of the rhododendron family and has been used traditionally for medicinal purposes, but be careful, it's not recommended for consumption in large quantities.
Good to know. I'll stick to my Earl Grey. What about sphagnum moss? I remember learning about that in school. Isn't it what they use in potting soil?
You're right. Sphagnum moss is incredibly absorbent and plays a key role in the bog's ecosystem by retaining water and creating the acidic conditions that many bog plants thrive in. It's also incredibly soft and springy underfoot, adding to the unique sensory experience of walking the boardwalk.
So it's not just about the sights, it's about the feel of the bog beneath your feet, too.
Exactly. It's a full sensory experience. And keep an eye out for dragonflies and damselflies. They're often seen flitting around the boardwalk, their iridescent wings catching the sunlight.
I love dragonflies. They're like tiny helicopters.
They are truly fascinating creatures, and they're an important part of the bog's ecosystem, helping to control mosquito populations. So you can thank them for keeping the bug situation somewhat manageable.
Okay, that makes them even cooler. What about other wildlife? Might we encounter any larger animals while on the boardwalk?
It's possible, but unlikely. Most of the larger animals like moose and deer tend to avoid the boardwalk area. However, you might spot a painted turtle basking on a log or a garter snake slithering through the undergrowth.
So it's a wildlife haven, but in a subtle, understated way, not necessarily the kind of place where you're guaranteed to see a moose around every corner.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unexpected and being attuned to the smaller, subtler signs of life that abound in the bog.
It sounds like Big Bog is a place that rewards patience and attentiveness. Not a place to rush through, but rather a place to slow down and truly observe.
You're absolutely right. It's about taking a deep breath, immersing yourself in the sights, sounds, and even the smells of the bog. It's about appreciating the subtle beauty and complexity of this unique ecosystem.
It sounds like a sensory experience unlike any other. Now, speaking of views, what can we expect to see from the boardwalk?
The boardwalk offers stunning views of the bog, especially from the viewing platform at the end of the trail. It's a great spot to take a break, soak in the scenery, and contemplate the vastness of this unique ecosystem. You can see for miles across the expanse of peatlands dotted with islands of trees and the meandering waterways that thread through the bog.
And that's just a small part of a much larger complex of peatlands, right?
That's right. Big Bog is just one piece of a much larger mosaic of peatlands, forests, and lakes that stretches across northern Minnesota. What we're seeing at Big Bog is just a glimpse into a much larger and more complex world.
It's incredible to think about the scale of these interconnected ecosystems and the vital role they play in our planet's health. Now, before we wrap up our exploration of Big Bog, I have to ask about something that's been bugging me. What's the deal with people trying to paint pitcher plants?
Well, as we've discussed, pitcher plants are quite striking with their unique shape and coloration. They've captured the imaginations of artists and nature enthusiasts alike.
But from what I'm seeing in these pictures, they're not the easiest things to paint.
They certainly present a challenge. Their intricate details and the way they blend into the surrounding vegetation can be tricky to capture on canvas.
But maybe that's part of the appeal, the challenge of capturing the essence of something so unusual and beautiful.
Exactly. It's about more than just creating a realistic representation. It's about connecting with the subject on a deeper level, understanding its forms, its textures, its place in the ecosystem.
It's about finding beauty in unexpected places and expressing that beauty in a way that resonates with others.
Beautifully said.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Big Bog, what's the one thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
Big Bog is a place where you can experience the unique beauty and wonder of a pristine peat bog while learning about its rich history and diverse ecosystem. It's a reminder that sometimes the most fascinating places are right in our own backyard.
So do your own deep dive and explore Big Bog in person. Maybe even try painting a pitcher plant. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Big Bog State Recreation Area. Until next time, keep diving deep.